What if the reason you've always felt a little different isn't because you're too much or too sensitive, but because your soul is speaking in a frequency the world stopped listening for a long time ago? Let that question sit with you, not as a thought experiment, but as a doorway. Because if you've carried certain feelings for years, quiet loneliness in crowded rooms, sudden knowing you can't explain, emotions that arrive like weather, there may finally be a name for what you've been sensing. Something ancient moves beneath the surface of Pisces, something that separates this sign from the rest in ways logic can't fully contain, but spirit recognizes immediately, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Pisces is not simply the 12th label in a tidy sequence across the sky. Pisces is a threshold, a sacred ending that doesn't feel like an ending, but like the inhale right before awakening. It carries the echo of everything the soul has practiced, survived, learned, and softened into across the entire zodiac. In modern Western astrology, in psychological traditions, and in more mystical interpretations, including Vedic perspectives, Pisces is often described as culmination. But that word still doesn't go far enough. Pisces feels like the moment your heart remembers something it never truly forgot. When people say Pisces is different, they aren't being poetic for effect. They're describing an unmistakable sensation. Pisces moves through life with a kind of vision that can't be taught. It feels inherited, stitched into the spirit across lifetimes. There's a reason so many Pisces feel misunderstood early on. Other signs are pushed to grow into a shape. Pisces is asked to remember what existed before the shape. Other signs search for identity like a destination. Pisces dissolves into intuition like an atmosphere. Many seek belonging by finding the right place. Pisces belongs everywhere and nowhere, all at once, because their nature is not fixed. It's fluid. If this kind of depth speaks to you and you want more messages like this for your chart and your spirit, subscribe to Arcana of Pisces now and stay close. You don't have to walk through the invisible parts of yourself alone. And before we go deeper, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Something that anchors this message in your real life. In the comments, write your date of birth and your zodiac sign. Not because the algorithm needs it, because your soul does. It's a quiet way of saying, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm willing to be seen. And if you felt any recognition in your chest already, even just a small inner yes, add a second line. I recognize myself. Pisces doesn't move through the world the way other signs do. And there's a reason. When you look at the zodiac as a complete cycle, Pisces comes last. The final chapter before the story begins again in a new form. But here's what most people miss. Pisces isn't just the ending. Pisces is the keeper, the collector of every human lesson. Imagine holding the courage of Aries, the steadiness of Taurus, the curiosity of Gemini, the tenderness of Cancer, the radiance of Leo, the discernment of Virgo, the harmony of Libra, the depth of Scorpio, the faith of Sagittarius, the discipline of Capricorn, and the vision of Aquarius, compressed into one heart that still somehow remains soft. That's Pisces. Not perfect, just profound. This is why Pisces can feel older than their age, even as children. There's a gentleness in their presence that doesn't come from experience alone. It comes from an inner memory, something imprinted beyond this lifetime. When Pisces enters a room, they don't simply notice the environment the way most people do. They absorb it. They take in what's said and what isn't. They sense the emotional history of a place like it's written into the air. And because that sensitivity arrives without a filter, it can be overwhelming. Pisces can wake up tired without knowing why. They can feel heavy after a conversation that looked harmless on the surface. They are the ocean trying to learn how to live inside a world made of stone. Because Pisces carries the memory of every sign, it also carries every emotion. Joy arrives in waves. Grief arrives like a distant echo that suddenly becomes loud. Inspiration pours in like a tide. Their inner world is vast, symbolic, poetic, sometimes too large to translate into ordinary words. But that is not a flaw. That is one of Pisces' most sacred strengths. Pisces exists to feel what others avoid, to perceive what others overlook, and to remind the world that the unseen is not less real than the visible. Pisces is not detached from reality. Pisces perceives a wider reality. This is why Pisces often searches for meaning before they can explain what they're searching for. They sense their own potential long before they know how to express it. They feel spiritual connection before they know the language for it. Their path isn't about forcing clarity through logic. Their path is about allowing memory to rise from within, remembering what the soul already knows. Pisces is not here to merely study the world. Pisces is here to feel the world, and through feeling, to transform it. When you speak to a Pisces, you might notice something that feels almost otherworldly. Pisces doesn't just listen to your words. Pisces listens to your energy. Your tone carries information. Your pauses carry meaning. Even your silence speaks. Psychology might call this thin emotional boundaries, but that phrase barely touches the truth. Pisces has an emotional radar, an intuitive instrument that reads not only moods, but entire inner landscapes. Where many people register a vibe, Pisces registers the story beneath the vibe. Imagine walking into a crowded room and feeling every heart inside it. The bright excitement of one person, the hidden sadness of another, the quiet anxiety behind a polite smile. Pisces often doesn't choose to sense these things. They arrive uninvited, unedited. That's why solitude is so essential for Pisces. Not because they're distant, cold, or uninterested, but because solitude is how Pisces clears the water. It's how they release what they absorbed without realizing it. In quiet, Pisces can finally hear their own voice again. This permeability shapes the way Pisces loves, too. Pisces doesn't only connect, Pisces merges. When Pisces cares, it becomes an emotional and spiritual exchange, not a casual partnership. They can feel another person's hopes, fears, joys, and disappointments as if those feelings are living inside their own body. That kind of love can be profoundly healing, but it can also be exhausting. And one of Pisces' most important lessons is this: connection does not require carrying someone else's emotional weight. Awareness is not the same as responsibility. Empathy does not demand self-erasure. Pisces can love deeply and still remain whole. The psychology of Pisces is woven with emotional intelligence, intuitive brilliance, and a powerful imagination. But Pisces also has to learn how to separate what is theirs from what is borrowed. And when Pisces finally learns that distinction, when they protect their sensitivity without shutting their heart, something extraordinary happens. They become healers without becoming drained. They become mirrors that reflect truth with tenderness. They become guides for people who have forgotten how to feel. Spiritually, Pisces stands at the edge between what's seen and what's sensed. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, the planet associated with dreams, mysticism, transcendence, divine longing, and the realms the physical senses cannot fully prove. Because of this, Pisces doesn't rely only on logic. Their intuition arrives like a whisper from beyond time. Insights come as if they're being remembered rather than invented. Pisces will know something without being able to explain how they know it. And later, reality catches up. Pisces is the mystic of the Zodiac, the dreamer, the quiet traveler of inner worlds. Many Pisces experience moments that stretch the boundaries of ordinary reality. Dreams that feel like guidance, synchronicities too precise to ignore, sudden inner knowing that arrives without evidence. What others label imagination, Pisces often experiences as truth in symbolic form. And this is important, that sensitivity is not automatically escapism. It is spiritual perception, the ability to feel the invisible currents moving beneath the surface of life. In Vedic thought, Pisces is often linked with liberation, the release from cycles of suffering and the longing to merge with something larger than the ego. In modern psychological astrology, Pisces symbolizes empathy, transcendence, and the hunger for meaning beyond material achievement. Put these together, and you begin to see Pisces' deeper purpose. Pisces exists to remind the world that life is more than what you can measure, that the soul has a language, that intuition is not childish, that compassion is not weakness, that the heart is a form of intelligence. At the core of Pisces' spiritual path is surrender, but not surrender as defeat. Surrender as trust. Trust that life can unfold with purpose even when the next step is not obvious. Trust that intuition is a valid compass. Trust that vulnerability can be a doorway to deeper connection rather than something to be punished. Pisces teaches that spirituality is not about rising above emotion. It is about moving through emotion with wisdom, softness, and grace without abandoning yourself. Pisces often walks through life with a quiet sense of uncertainty, like moving through fog. But that fog isn't failure. It's part of the blueprint. Many signs thrive on structure, rules, and predictable paths. Pisces moves by resonance, by inner alignment, by subtle signals that are hard to explain to anyone who only trusts what they can see. Pisces doesn't always choose a road because it looks impressive. Pisces chooses a road because it feels true. Sometimes that truth arrives as peace, sometimes as a sudden inner yes, sometimes as a calm certainty that makes no logical sense, until later when it makes perfect sense. So when Pisces looks lost, what is often happening is deeper listening. Pisces is paying attention to the currents under the surface. Currents most people never notice because they're too busy chasing a straight line. And this is why Pisces timing can look unusual. They don't bloom for speed, they bloom for depth. They're not meant to rush, they're meant to ripen. Pisces must learn to trust this unfolding. Trust that clarity will arrive at the exact moment it's meant to. Trust that delays are sometimes protection. Trust that confusion can be a passageway, not an obstacle. When Pisces stops comparing their path to the pace of others, a hidden truth rises. Their life is not chaotic. It is guided. Their journey is not random. It is intentional. And even when the mind doesn't know, the soul often does. Because Pisces feels so deeply, there is also a temptation that can appear when life becomes heavy, the temptation to step away rather than face intensity. Escape can wear many disguises. It can look like daydreams that stretch too long, distractions that quiet the mind, or habits that numb feelings that feel too big to hold. This doesn't happen because Pisces is weak. It happens because they carry oceans inside a single body, and sometimes the waves get loud. But here's the true spiritual challenge for Pisces: learning the difference between escape and transcendence. Escape is avoidance. It's turning away from what hurts. Transcendence is transformation. It's gaining a higher perspective without abandoning the human experience. When Pisces chooses transcendence, they don't disappear from life. They engage it with wisdom. They face emotion with compassion instead of fear. They move through pain instead of circling around it forever. And right here, midway through this journey, if any part of this is resonating with you, take a second to like the video. Not as a chore, but as a gentle exchange of energy. It helps this message find the people who need it, and it tells the universe, yes, more of this truth, please. The moment Pisces realizes sensitivity is not a burden but a compass, everything shifts. Imagination becomes creativity instead of avoidance. Intuition becomes guidance instead of anxiety. Empathy becomes a bridge instead of a weight. When Pisces stops trying to escape the world and starts bringing their gifts into it, they step into their real power. They become visionaries who can turn insight into healing, artists who can touch the unseen, souls who elevate the energy of every space they enter, not by forcing anything but by being. The shadow side of Pisces is not a condemnation. It's a doorway that leads from overwhelm to mastery, from confusion to clarity, from illusion to awakening. Pisces can walk through it with a unique grace, not because they never struggle, but because they understand that struggle is often a transformation in disguise. Pisces also carries a natural healing ability, not through control or instruction, but through presence. When you speak to a Pisces, you can feel understood in a way that's difficult to describe. Pisces doesn't only hear your story, they feel your experience. Their empathy can act like a mirror that reflects people back to themselves without judgment. And that reflection can be so soothing that someone feels lighter after a simple conversation with a Pisces, even if nothing big was solved. Pisces heals through connection, through gentleness, through seeing others with depth. But this gift comes with a serious lesson. Pisces can forget that not every emotion they feel belongs to them. They absorb pain so naturally that they can start carrying weight that was never theirs to hold. And that leads to exhaustion, confusion, depletion, like an inner battery being drained by invisible demands. One of the most important teachings for Pisces is that empathy does not require self-sacrifice. Pisces can support others without disappearing. Pisces can care without becoming responsible for someone else's healing. When Pisces learns boundaries, their healing gets stronger, not weaker. Clarity actually enhances compassion. Protecting their energy allows them to offer true presence rather than drained attention. In that state, Pisces becomes a spiritual anchor, someone who can listen without absorbing, guide without controlling, love without losing identity. And understand this, Pisces is not meant to reflect only pain. Pisces is meant to reflect potential. When someone stands before Pisces, they often feel seen in a way that reminds them of their own inner light. Pisces doesn't fix people. Pisces reveals people to themselves. That is one of Pisces' most sacred powers, awakening the truth that every soul contains wisdom, beauty, and possibility. Many people misunderstand Pisces because they expect consistency from something that was never designed to move in straight lines. The world prefers predictable patterns, neat labels, clear timelines, simple motives. But Pisces moves like tide and moon. Pisces shifts according to energy, emotion, and invisible currents most people aren't sensitive enough to notice. What looks inconsistent on the outside is often deep alignment on the inside. Pisces adjusts because Pisces feels, and feeling requires awareness, nuance, and spiritual intelligence. People sometimes call Pisces complicated, but the truth is Pisces lives in a dimension where feelings have layers, thoughts have texture, and experiences carry meaning beneath meaning. Most people process life through logic first and emotion second. Pisces often does the reverse. They feel first, then interpret. They sense before they decide. They dream before they plan. That isn't confusion. That is a different style of consciousness, one that flows rather than divides. And what people can't experience within themselves, they often struggle to understand in others. Pisces also navigates relationships with a rhythm that can surprise people. They can be expressive one day and quiet the next, not because they're playing games, but because they're integrating. Pisces needs time to process emotion, to explore what it means, to return to center before stepping back into the world. That ebb and flow can be mistaken for unpredictability, when in truth it's a spiritual pulse, a private rhythm that keeps Pisces connected to their intuition. Another reason Pisces is misunderstood is that Pisces sees potential everywhere. Pisces can look at someone and sense not only who they are today, but who they could become. Pisces notices energy beyond actions and intentions behind words. For some people, that level of perception feels unsettling, even intimidating. But Pisces doesn't see through people to judge them. Pisces sees through people because they recognize the spiritual architecture of the human heart. Pisces catches emotional truths long before others are ready to speak them out loud. In a society that often values structure and rationality above sensitivity and imagination, Pisces can appear out of place. But that's only because the world frequently measures worth through productivity rather than presence. Pisces contributes through compassion, intuition, creativity, and emotional intelligence, forces that are powerful even when they aren't immediately visible. When people misunderstand Pisces, it is rarely a reflection of Pisces' value. It's often a reflection of how limited someone's lens has become. Ultimately, Pisces is misunderstood because Pisces operates on a higher emotional and spiritual frequency. Pisces is tuned to currents many people forgot how to feel. Pisces understands life not as a checklist of goals, but as a series of moments infused with meaning and possibility. And when you recognize that, the mystery of Pisces becomes a revelation. Pisces' difference is not a flaw, it is a gift. A living reminder that the human experience is deeper and more beautiful than most people allow themselves to believe. There comes a moment near the end of every deep inner journey when the truths you've been circling suddenly rise to the surface with undeniable clarity. And as you look at Pisces from this higher perspective, something extraordinary becomes clear. Pisces was never meant to fit inside a world built entirely on straight lines, rigid structures, and predictable patterns. Pisces exists to remind us that life is not meant to be confined to what is visible. Life is meant to be felt, breathed, surrendered into, and awakened from. Pisces carries a spiritual frequency that can't be reduced to one trait because it is woven from the emotional wisdom of the entire zodiac. What some call sensitivity, Pisces turns into awareness. What some call daydreaming, Pisces turns into vision. What some call vulnerability, Pisces turns into an invitation for emotional truth. Pisces reminds us that softness can be a kind of strength and that gentleness can hold immense power. When you look closely at the Pisces journey, you see a soul that has traveled through countless forms of experience. You see someone who has loved deeply, not only in this life, but in the symbolic memory of the whole zodiac. Pisces understands that strength is not always loud, wisdom is not always spoken, and intuition is not always logical. Pisces' power comes from the ability to feel without shutting down, to remain compassionate even while carrying their own private storms. In a world that often rewards hardness, Pisces remains a quiet light that points back toward the beauty of tenderness. This isn't weakness, it's spiritual resilience. Pisces doesn't rise through brute force. Pisces rises through inner alignment, emotional honesty, and a profound connection to something larger than the self. Pisces doesn't build walls as a first instinct. Pisces builds bridges between the human heart and the divine, between what you can touch and what you can sense, between this moment and something eternal. Pisces invites us to listen deeper, love wider, and live with more intention. So let yourself breathe in the essence of Pisces now. Feel the quiet courage that arrives when you stop resisting your sensitivity and start honoring it as guidance. Feel the peace that comes when you accept that your path doesn't need to match anyone else's expectations. Feel the awakening that stirs when you remember that your inner world holds answers logic alone can't deliver. Pisces teaches that every emotion carries a message, every experience carries purpose, and every soul carries a silent wisdom that becomes louder when you choose to listen. Let this be your reminder. Your journey is sacred. Your growth is unfolding exactly as it should. Your spirit is stronger than you've been taught to believe. Whether Pisces is your sun sign, your moon, your rising, or simply an energy you recognize in your bones, you carry the ability to soften the world without dimming your light. You carry the ability to transform sensitivity into strength and imagination into guidance. You carry the ability to rise from hard moments, not with bitterness, but with deeper understanding. And if this journey through the heart of Pisces touched something in you, don't let it end here. Keep exploring the spiritual layers of your chart, your patterns, your intuition, your calling. There are mysteries still waiting to open for you, insights still waiting to wake you, truths still waiting to guide you forward. Stay curious, stay open. Let your inner ocean lead you where you're meant to go. Before you go, make sure you explore the other videos on Arcana of Pisces. Each one carries reflections and guidance meant to support your path and deepen your understanding of astrology, intuition, and the sacred unfolding you're living. And if you want to stay close to messages like this, subscribe to Arcana of Pisces now. It truly helps this space grow. Finally, don't forget to like the video. It's a simple gesture, but it sends this message to the people who need it most.